Why I refuse to let my wife bob her hair. Photoplay, November 1924. I am an old-fashioned man, and now that middle age is upon me, I am believing more and more in old-fashioned ideals. I used to be a radical. I used to believe in individual freedom. I used to think that whatever anyone did was his or her own business. I used to think that if a woman wanted a haircut, she should have a haircut. And I still believe that any woman who wants to bob her hair should go ahead and do it, so long as she is some other man's wife. I refuse to permit my wife to bob her hair. It is the first time in 10 years of our married life that I have refused her anything. But on this bobbed hair thing, I have put my foot down. French lessons, Italian lessons. Well, she has run the establishment. For 10 years, I have been the poor worm, the working stiff, the good and generous provider. But fate is kind. There does come a time for revolt. My wife wants to bob her hair. Nothing doing. And what I say about bobbed hair goes. There is a limit to what any man will stand for. He must keep some self-respect. For 10 years, my wife has been the boss. She has handled the checkbook, bought all the furniture, attended to the interior decoration, house and myself, bought my shirts and ties, determined whether we should live in the city or the country, purchased the kind of motor car she wanted, selected the place for our annual vacation, named our baby, took singing lessons. Why won't I let her? As I stated before, I am well into middle age. My wife is young and beautiful. I know very well that if she bobbed her hair, she would look several years younger. I would be taken for her father. Why, even now, our son is always taken for her little brother. I'll confess it is different with him. He is all for bobbed hair. But then, he is a member of the younger, I should say youngest generation, with broad liberal views. He likes the flapper idea. I got home one evening and found that during the afternoon, he had put his thoughts down on paper. After paying a tribute to beautiful womanhood in general and his growing admiration for what has been called the fair sex, he became specific about my wife, who is also his mother. He had written, "I am glad I have a young and snappy mother. She is pretty too. She likes to dance. I think it is too bad Daddy can't dance. When I get big, I am going to learn to dance so that all the beautiful ladies will like me. I like flappers. I wish Mother would bob her hair so that she would look like a flapper." No doubt we all must pass through this young radical stage, and I am glad that young Bill is having his fling early. As this is being written, he is out in Chicago visiting his grandmother. His 3 aunts there all have bobbed hair, and when we became lonesome for him last week and told him it was time for him to come back home, he wrote and said, "I'll come back when Mother bobs her hair." Well, that shows quite a division in the family. Father against son, as well as husband against wife. What is more, young Bill is not one to be bullied or coaxed or bribed. He gets what he wants, always. That is a habit and a failing of an only son, who is likewise a member of the younger generation. He claims he is 8, although he knows very well he will not be 8 until his next birthday. But women are funny. Now, my wife knows how thoroughly I am opposed to bobbed hair, for her. Yet she is always showing me copies of Photoplay with pictures of different styles of bobs. "Don't you think I would look well with one of those boyish bobs?" she will ask. "I do not," I answer firmly, so that argument is ended. Or it ought to be, at least. I put the subject out of my mind, and then look what happens. Not long ago, my wife decided that one of these bobs with bangs down over the forehead would suit her type of beauty. She tried to describe the banged bob, but my imaginative visual sense couldn't see it at all, so she tried to find live specimens. She found them on the stage in the chorus. Just an occasional one. From where I sat, they looked as Corans are supposed to look, beautiful but dumb. So I said, "Yes, they are cute and cunning, and the farther away the better they look." Now, in some way, my wife took it to mean that I approved of dumb-looking banged bobs, and when she was having a shampoo in one of New York's most beauteous beauty parlors, she had her bangs bobbed. No more than that, mind you, or I should be writing this as an ex, not as a working husband. And when I got home, I didn't have to say a thing about it either. I didn't even have to look and laugh. Honestly, it was terrible. If there is any super intellectual woman who scares men away because she looks so darn learned and highbrow, Let her cut her front hair so that bangs will hang down to her eyebrows, and she will look dumb enough to snare any man who believes that brains should be neither seen nor heard. Long hair used to be a lure, a man trap. Fiction writers used to make a big point of their heroine's hair. In every well-regulated love story, the heroine would let her hair fall in a golden, glorious cascade over her shoulders. It made good reading, and the thing worked with the girls too. They actually pulled this stunt most effectively. Now, after the barber gets through using his clippers and his razor on their necks, they are left with a lot of incipient pig bristles, and not enough is left of what used to be called woman's crowning glory to hide the nakedness of the neck. Personally, I don't think this bobbed hair thing is fair. It gives the women all the advantage. Heaven knows the short skirt craze was bad enough. You would follow an interesting pair of ankles, and more, up the avenue for a few blocks, then hurry ahead to get a look at the facial features of the sweet young thing, and then, what a shock! Grandmother, no less. Now it is even worse. What with these reducing exercises, reducing girdles, figures no longer are dated. What with mud packs and barber shears, even faces have the outward bloom of youth. And man, always willing, nay anxious, to be deceived, is an easy victim. It's not fair. Just because I confess that I'm old-fashioned, no doubt I will be put down as an old fogey. Honestly, I'm not. I still get a thrill from a girl in a music show. I always go to Atlantic City in September when the bathing beauties are on parade. I am still sufficiently unconventional to go to the Metropolitan Opera House without donning my dress suit. I still read Theodore Dreiser, H.L. Mencken, and the more lucid of the young intellectuals. Bobbed hair means bobbed brains. Let a woman lose her hair and she becomes lightheaded. She thinks she must act kittenish. She flops around like a young squab looking for a playmate, and when she does not get into trouble, she makes herself ridiculous. I've never known a man yet who would privately and honestly admit that he approved of his wife bobbing her hair. Husbands become resigned to it, because what once the shears have sundered, no man can put together. Never have I felt so sorry for a man as I did at a formal dinner and dance just the other night. He is a rapidly aging manufacturer. His wife is not so young either. Her hair is a greenish yellow and her whole makeup very blondish. Well, while poor old hubby was stewing around trying to look important, here was his bobbed hair wife in her low-cut gown and short-cut blonde hair, the center of a crowd of young men, most of them little more than half her age, all attracted by the devilish youthfulness of age. She outflapped any flapper I've ever seen, and her husband was helpless. She acted this way because she felt she had to live up to her short bobbed hair. Bobbed hair gives a woman too much confidence in herself, makes her daring and dashing and devilish. They get that come-along look in their eyes, and then it is every married man for himself. Do you think I am going to permit my wife to make a fool of herself first and a fool of me in the bargain? Not if I know it. Few married women really want to bob their hair. They are bullied or dared into it. Here is the way it happened to the wife of a friend of mine. She and another married woman had lunch together, and then went to a motion picture matinee. After the matinee, they had tea. "Oh, but didn't Gloria Swanson look sweet in that new bob of hers?" said the companion of my friend's wife. "Mabel, you would look terribly cunning in a bob like Gloria's." "Oh, Marigold, do you really think so?" gurgled Mabel. "I just wouldn't dare. Frank would boil me in oil if I had my hair bobbed." "Nonsense. When he saw how well you looked, he'd be crazier about you than ever." Well, one thing led to another. Mabel dared Marigold, and Marigold dared Mabel. So the first thing you know, the shears were snipping off the long tresses that had taken years to become what they were. Mabel was afraid to go home, but finally she did, and she hid her shorn hair in a boudoir cap. She hustled the nicest supper she could get from the corner delicatessen to put Frank in a good humor. After she had given him his second cup of minute coffee while you wait, she went to her room, fluffed out her hair, and went back to the dining room. "How does it look, Frank?" she asked. And the moment was one when a poor woman needs praise and encouragement more than at any other moment in her life. "You look like the wrath of God," said Frank. Now, my wife knows Mabel, and Mabel told her exactly what happened. It nearly broke up that household. It would break up my household. While my wife could go out and find a new husband easy enough, the job of getting a new husband housebroke is not an easy one. She has worked over me for 10 years, and I'm pretty docile. And so far as husbands go, I guess I suit her pretty well. At least well enough for her not to want our marriage to go to smash over bobbed hair. But you can never tell about women.